From ancient scrolls to timeless truths. This is Timeless Bible Tales. Don't forget to subscribe and journey with us through Scripture's greatest stories. What if I told you that the strongest man in history, a man chosen by God to lead his people, was brought down not by an army, but by a single fatal mistake? What if his story wasn't just about raw power, but also about the struggle between calling and compromise, and how even the mightiest can fall? This isn't just a story of muscles, it's a story of a flawed man, divine purpose, and ultimate redemption. Welcome to the incredible journey of Samson. A man whose life was filled with miraculous beginnings, supernatural strength, personal failures, and a final act of redemption that shook a kingdom. From his miraculous birth to his tragic downfall, Samson's story is a powerful reminder of how God can use even the broken and flawed to fulfill his purposes. Stick with us as we uncover the secrets behind his strength, the betrayals that led to his fall, and the redemption that made his final moments unforgettable. Long ago, in the time when Israel had no king and was oppressed by the Philistines, God raised up judges to lead his people. Among them was Samson, a man whose story is one of miraculous beginnings, astonishing feats of strength, deep personal flaws, and ultimate redemption. Samson's story begins with his parents, Manoah and his wife, who were from the tribe of Dan and unable to have children. One day, an angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and told her she would bear a son. This child would be dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth, meaning he must never cut his hair, drink wine, or touch anything unclean. These were outward signs of his consecration to God. This son was to be a deliverer for Israel, destined to begin freeing them from the oppression of the Philistines. As Samson grew into adulthood, it became evident that his life was marked by an extraordinary destiny. Though his strength was unparalleled, it wasn't merely physical prowess. It was empowered by the Spirit of the Lord, an anointing directly tied to his Nazirite vow and consecration to God. On a journey to Timnah, Samson expressed his desire to marry a Philistine woman, a decision his parents opposed since it contradicted Israel's covenant and the Nazirite calling on his life. Despite their protests, Samson insisted, saying, "She is right in my eyes," Judges 14 verse 3. This moment foreshadowed a pattern of impulsive decisions driven by personal desires. While traveling to Timnah, a young lion suddenly attacked Samson. At that moment, the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him, and with superhuman strength, he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as one tears a young goat, Judges 14 verse 6. This event wasn't merely a display of physical might, it was a testament to divine empowerment. Later, Samson returned to the lion's carcass and found a swarm of bees and honey within it. He scooped out the honey and gave some to his parents but did not reveal its origin. By touching the carcass, he broke part of his Nazirite vow, Numbers 6:6, which forbade contact with anything dead. This act highlighted the tension between his divine calling and his personal choices. At his wedding feast in Timnah, Samson sought to challenge the Philistines with a riddle, wagering 30 sets of clothing as a prize. Out of the eater came something to eat, out of the strong came something sweet. Judges 14 verse 14, the Philistines, unable to solve the riddle, pressured his new wife into revealing the answer by threatening her and her family. Betrayed by his wife, Samson was infuriated. He stormed out, killed 30 Philistines in Ashkelon, stripped them of their garments, and returned home, Judges 14 verse 19. This incident marked the beginning of a bitter conflict between Samson and the Philistines. Later, upon discovering that his wife had been given to another man, Samson sought revenge. He captured 300 foxes, or jackals, tied them in pairs by their tails, fastened burning torches between them, and set them loose in the Philistines' grain fields, vineyards, and olive groves. The result was a devastating fire that ravaged the Philistine economy, Judges 15 verses 4-5. Enraged by this destruction, the Philistines retaliated by burning Samson's wife and her family alive. Grief-stricken and furious, Samson attacked the Philistines, slaughtering many of them before retreating to a cave in the rock of Etam, Judges 15 verse 8. Determined to capture him, the Philistines marched into Judah and demanded his surrender. The men of Judah, fearing Philistine wrath, agreed to hand Samson over. They bound him with 2 new ropes and brought him to the Philistine camp. But as the Philistines advanced, the Spirit of the Lord once again empowered Samson. The ropes binding him became like flax burned in fire, and he broke free effortlessly. Seizing a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he struck down 1,000 Philistine men, Judges 15 verse 15. After the battle, exhausted and on the verge of collapse, Samson cried out to God. The Lord responded by miraculously providing water from a hollow place at Lehi, reviving him and demonstrating his continued grace, Judges 15 verse 19. Despite his mighty feats and God-given strength, Samson's greatest vulnerability was not in battle, but in his personal life, particularly his weakness for women. This flaw would eventually lead to his downfall. Samson's attraction to Philistine women was a consistent theme. After his earlier involvement in Timnah and the tragic outcome of that marriage, he traveled to Gaza, where he spent the night with a prostitute, Judges 16 verse 1. When the Philistines discovered he was in the city, they surrounded it and lay in wait to capture him at dawn. However, in the middle of the night, Samson got up, ripped the city gate from its hinges, hoisted it onto his shoulders, and carried it to the top of a nearby hill, Judges 16 verse 3. This astonishing display of strength humiliated the Philistines and demonstrated once again that his power was unmatched. Samson's most fateful relationship began when he fell in love with Delilah, a woman from the valley of Sorek. The Philistine leaders recognized an opportunity and bribed Delilah with 1,100 pieces of silver each to discover the secret of Samson's strength, Judges 16 verse 5. Delilah, driven by greed or perhaps other motivations, agreed. She repeatedly questioned Samson, each time receiving a false answer. He told her his strength would leave him if he were bound with fresh cords, if he were tied with new ropes, or if his hair were woven into a loom. Each time, Delilah tested his claims, and each time Samson escaped effortlessly. But Delilah was persistent. She accused him of not truly loving her because he kept lying. Worn down by her nagging and emotional manipulation, Samson finally gave in and revealed his secret. His uncut hair, a symbol of his Nazirite vow, was the source of his strength, Judges 16 verse 17. Delilah lulled Samson to sleep on her lap, called a man to shave off his hair, and betrayed him to the Philistines. When Samson awoke, he thought he could break free as before, but the Lord had departed from him, Judges 16 verse 20. The Philistines captured him, gouged out his eyes, and dragged him to Gaza. There, they bound him with bronze shackles and forced him to grind grain in prison, a task reserved for slaves, Judges 16 verse 21. Samson's fall was complete. Once a feared warrior, he was now blind, humiliated, and powerless, reduced to performing menial labor for his enemies. Thanks for watching. If you were inspired by Samson's story of strength, failure, and redemption, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more powerful Bible stories that will strengthen your faith. Turn on notifications so you won't miss the next episode. Let us know in the comments, what part of Samson's story spoke to your heart today.